For many of us who grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, shooters like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and does anyone remember Jet Force Gemini? That game was pretty crazy. But these games, they introduced us to the concept of first-person shooters. Now sure, there was definitely FPS games on PC too, but for the most part, consoles were and still are more accessible and affordable for the average gamer. Now I definitely do have amazing memories of trying to figure out what the hell to do in the original Half-Life, and thinking that the original Doom was kinda old and poopy. I'm glad I was wrong about that one, as we often are as children. And of course, being introduced to Counter-Strike, my favorite FPS of all time. But in 2001, something would happen. A game would come out that, for many, myself included, would create a sense of wonder, dread, fear, and even hope. There was a game unmatched at the time that pushed the boundaries of what people thought consoles could do. A game that told the world, hey, you can shoot guns pretty well on this Xbox. A game that proved you didn't have to run down dark corridors to be a good game. This game was called Halo Combat Evolved. Where Combat Evolved stood out from many other games at the time was the immediate action you were thrown into, with no real way to defend yourself.
Sam! Sam! Come on, we've got to get the hell out of here! This way!
A sense of panic set in as you scramble to find Captain Keyes, who then hands you one of the most iconic weapons in Halo, and maybe even in FPS as a whole. A pistol. It's not just any pistol. This thing is like a pocket op. This thing is more powerful than the Death Star. Alright, well, not really, but it's pretty freaking good. After your intense battle with an unknown to you, the player, that is, enemy, that you've now lost, you're ejected from your ship and sent down to, well, you probably guessed it by now, the Halo. Stepping out of your humble escape pod, you see a sense of scale you thought not possible on a console. The world looks huge, with a ring of immense proportions wrapping around the sky above, and this is Halo. Where Combat Evolved shined was its ability to make every level feel different, from the lush green landscapes of where you land on the Halo to the snow and ice-covered assault on the control room. Every level was different and brought with it a brand new feeling of wonder. It wasn't all beautifully crafted open environments either. Oh yes, there was the Doom-esque corridor sections, and there were even arrows pointing the direction to go, in case everything started to look kind of the same. Oh, and let's not forget the library. Never go to the library. Now let's fast forward a bit, maybe about 13 years or so, give or take. A studio by the name of Respawn Entertainment drops a game called Titanfall in the world. Now the game was a mostly multiplayer focused title with a few single player missions that basically just taught you the mechanics, or a glorified tutorial if you will, and the game received decent reviews, but it didn't appear to have too much staying power. But there was one thing. The Titans. The giant mechs were something that people have been kind of longing for a hot minute, and yeah, there's the MechWarrior franchise and a few other one-off titles here and there, but again, nothing with much staying power. Now in October of 2016, Respawn would drop Titanfall 2. People loved the multiplayer of Titanfall 1 and were hopeful that the sequel would bring more of that back, with improvements, and oh boy, did they get so much more than that. Something everyone was asking for, a real single-player campaign. It was finally here, but many skeptics were wary of the quality of it. They had reason to be, too. We've already kind of grown tired of the 3 or 4 hour Call of Duty campaign rehashes over and over again. They felt secondary, tacked on. This was the fear with Titanfall 2, and many dismissed the game, myself included, stating, I don't need another generic shooter and I'll just wait for it to go on sale, or other tired excuses we've all told ourselves over and over again. And thank God were we wrong. Recently, you guys have probably noticed that there's been a reignited love for Titanfall 2. Now, Apex definitely helps that out, but there's also been a free weekend that helped kickstart, again, that love for Titanfall 2, and people discovering it for the first time, myself included. I finally gave into the hype, having the game collecting dust in my Steam/Origin library for a while now, and for those that gave me the push to finally play it, I thank you. For the first time since Combat Evolved, I felt a sense of wonder and excitement for a game that I've been chasing for a while now. Right from the start, down to the look at the lights introduction, something clicked for me. Probably a callback to Combat Evolved's introduction section, or maybe it's just the childlike appeal of beating the crap out of other robots. I don't know, but it worked. Now, there is a short tutorial section to teach you the gunplay and the concept of wall running, which in itself is brilliant, as you try to beat your own high score on the course, figuring out which guns are best and which routes are best. But not long after this tutorial, you're thrown into battle, again, much like Combat Evolved. The difference? You have a gun, you can fight back, but when a 20-foot robot crashes down on your head, you're not really going to be able to do much, are you? So after this encounter, you wake up to find yourself about to be a meal for the local fauna. But don't worry, your guardian angel is here. Finally, you get into your mech. Well, not quite. But you do go to explore a little bit. And do what we play these games for, shooting some guns. Now, after a bit more errand running, you get to your mech, BT-7274, and you power him up. And together, you go on a journey that spans a war-torn planet as you try to save the world and maybe even the universe. Now, is the plot itself anything to write home about? No. It has the basic stop the bad guy from using the weapon of mass destruction plot. Even Combat Evolved had this, most FPSs do. It's just the nature of the genre, if you will. Now, that's not to say Respawn don't make it interesting, though. I don't want to go into too much spoilers, as much as I want to gush about every level, but I want you all to have the chance to feel the way I did while playing. That being said, the environments are beautiful, and much akin to Combat Evolved, are different in almost every single mission. I say almost because yes, there are the corridor sections, but they aren't the focus, and many are made interesting with the wall running mechanic. Some corridor sections can become puzzles as you try to figure out how to get to the next part, or let you find cool paths around and behind enemies, which lead to badass kills, which kind of remind me of blinking behind enemies in Dishonored, another favorite of mine. They also introduce different perks, for lack of a better term, that can quite frankly make you feel like you have superpowers. There wasn't one moment in the game that I felt bored or that there wasn't really anything to look at. I didn't want to just run through the campaign like I do in a lot of FPS games, and there's several times where I had to stop and just take it all in. I had to take in the crafted with love environments. These environments, which is surprising for this day and age, were bug-free. I don't remember going through the map, falling through the floor or anything like that, or getting stuck on any walls, or anything game-breaking that made me not want to play the game or just stop playing at all. There's also a nice variance of enemies. There's the standard human soldiers, various scary, angry robots, flying robots, and of course the always daunting titans, and a few other creatures. And I don't want to say the design of them is anything groundbreaking. There's enough variance to make it seem like you're not just killing the same guy over and over again. Beyond these, though, is the feel-good relationship you get with your mech. Always helpful, always encouraging, it's a breath of fresh air, and their relationship akin to Master Chief and Cortana. BT and Jack Cooper are now a dynamic duo for me. They are like PB&J. A bond forms between you and this chunk of metal, probably the most surprising twist in the entire game for me. And BT is sad when you're sad, he's happy when you're happy, and most of all, he's proud of you. You trust BT.
Trust me.
And BT trusts you. And that's something that you don't get much of in video games these days, where everything is just go, 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 shoot, shoot, shoot. Then there's the multiplayer. If you like Call of Duty, you'll like this. If you like the later Halo multiplayers, you'll like this. It's fast-paced, it's hectic, and quite literally balls to the wall. Flanking around an enemy, popping through a window, and taking down two guys before they even know what happens is fucking awesome. And it's even awesome when it happens to you. You appreciate the craftiness of other players, and it makes you think differently on how to approach battles. There's so many different ways to go about taking out enemy players that you can just get lost in doing cool shit. That's all before touching a Titan. The Titan battles are even more cool. You feel like Rock'em Sock'em robots, but this time you've got guns. Each mech class has something different about it, and there's different ways to counter each, and no battle feels unfair. And if it does, that's probably because you put yourself in that situation. For example, a 2 versus 1 Titan fight. Titanfall 2 brought me back that childlike wonder I've been longing for so long, and it brought back a sense of enjoyment for FPSs. And for that, I thank you, Respawn. I hope this video was enough to convince you to play Titanfall 2, even if it's just the campaign, because I think you will really enjoy it. If you're looking for a sense of childlike wonder, looking to see some cool environments, or looking to just punch the shit out of some robots, pick up this game. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.